Okay, perfect. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. This is Jeremy. This is our expert trainer for the DMI programs that we're hosting here at Leoron Institute. My name is Mark Sokolowski. I'm a senior training consultant here at Leoron for any training and development initiatives that you might need or might be looking into for yourself and the person to call. But that aside, let us jump into the webinar and see what Mr. Jeremy has to tell us during this short session. We're going to learn some things, we're going to ask some things, and we look forward to it. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining us today. You can feel free to take over the stage.
Thank you very much, Mark. As mentioned, my name is Jeremy, and a very warm welcome to everybody on this Sunday afternoon, almost just Sunday afternoon, I suppose. And it's great to see you here. Now, as you know, AI is sweeping across the world like a tsunami. And the reason for that is because of the introduction a few years ago of ChatGPT and something called generative AI. Now, we have actually been using AI for many, many years without knowing it, because companies like Microsoft and Google and Netflix and people like that have been using discriminative AI. And that means the AI that they've been using is built in to the applications that they have. But generative AI is where you and I can go and do magical things, amazing things with AI. And so that's essentially why it's taken off. And it's actually not difficult. I hope and trust that you've already got on board with the likes of ChatGPT, possibly Gemini, possibly Copilot. And we'll be talking a little bit about that. This particular session is in support of a marketing course that we do here at Leoron, specifically with AI driven. So it's AI driven marketing. Now, the truth is, artificial intelligence does need a purpose. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. You use AI to run companies. You use AI to market products and services. You use AI to improve your recruitment. You might use AI in a personal sense to plan a holiday. It always has a reason, a purpose. So in this instance, we're going to be talking a bit about how AI supports strategic marketing, digital marketing, online marketing. Now, the course has been running for many years, but it's now got a big chunk of AI in it. And I'll be telling you when we get there about some of the elements of AI that you can learn just as part of the course. And we're running the course in June. I'm not doing a big pitch for the course because I don't need to, basically. It's a very popular course. But be aware that this is a little taster, I guess you could say, a little introduction to how we use AI in digital marketing. But of course, we can touch on other areas as well. So a very warm welcome and introductions. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Okay. And the first, I'm going to have to dive in and out here. All right. So what I suggest, because I have to dive in and out, because I can't get to chat because of the way WebEx works if you've got a single screen. And I'm on a single screen at the moment. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions. And you're welcome to, if you could just pop into chat, the answers to these 3 questions, which is, the first one is where you are logging in from. Now, typically, here in Western Europe, Sunday is a day when most people don't work. But of course, I know there in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia, KSA, you do work. Your first day of the week is Sunday. I've worked there many, many times. So I think, judging from your names, I'm just guessing here, you're probably from that region. But if you could identify where you're logging in from, that would be absolutely brilliant. And then, how long have you been using generative AI? You might say never, okay, which is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I really mean is, how long have you been inputting to an AI tool like ChatGPT? It might be years, it might be months, it might be days, it might be weeks. I'm just interested to know how long you have been. So that's the second question. And the third question is, what is the the AI app you use the most? So is it, there's lots of them out there. You might be a creative, you might use Midjourney all the time, or this, which is an image generating app, image and videos. And that's the third question. And what I'm going to do, I was going to ask those questions one by one, but then it would have driven you crazy because I'd have had to have logged out. I have to stop sharing. So if you just pop those into the chat there, and when I mean chat, I mean literally the chat box, and then let's have a look at some of those answers, and then I'll come back to this here. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing basically so I can get into the chat and see the chat on WebEx. So let's have a look. So I'm going to get out all these boxes. Okay, slides are clear, fantastic. Oman, lovely, lovely Oman. I went there about 18 months ago, 2 years ago. You got a fantastic beach there at Muscat, and it was brilliant. I had a really lovely time. A very beautiful country. KSA, know it well. Ahmed, thank you very much. And I've mostly been to Riyadh. Not really got much out of Riyadh. I've not traveled much out of Riyadh, but I certainly plan to. Dubai, that's awesome. Beautiful Dubai, know it very well. Saudi Arabia. Um, it always amazes me when I tell some people, because I have some obviously Saudi Arabian friends, and I tell them that you can ski there and there are mountains and all that sort of thing, because I think they think it is mostly desert. Whereas obviously, as we all know, it's a lot more rich in variety than that. The next one is 3 years. That's a fairly long time, Ahmed. So you may be familiar with some of the things I'm talking about today. Bahrain, that's, I've never been there. Definitely would love to go. And a month ago, Mohammed, so it's fairly new for you. So hopefully we'll tell you about some things there. 2 years. Okay. Kuwait's another place I've never been, actually. And nor is Jeddah. So there's some places I've not been. So 2 years, 2 years, 3 years. So we've got presumably people reasonably familiar with things like prompting and how to create prompts, how to write prompts, some of the things that you can use AI for. You've got Gemini there. Gemini is Google's offering. It is an entire ecosystem of AI tools. It's very powerful. And of course, it works with Workspace, Google Workspace, so Google Docs, Google Sheets. It's rather cool to use it to auto respond to emails. Typically, people use it a lot for that, connecting it to your Gmail. And obviously, the human intervention is you can just say, well, I like that answer, and just send it as it is. That's 1 year. That's all good. ChatGPT and Gemini, that's good. Claude, okay, Claude's very, very powerful. There's a sort of competition going on at the moment between Claude and ChatGPT as AI tools evolve and develop into even more being able to do even more clever things than they were used for before. ChatGPT, I guess ChatGPT, I use it all the time. People say, how many times a day? Well, actually, I literally use it all the time for everything. And that's Hazim. So Abdullah, there you've got Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT, all powerful. The Emirates, Mohammed there, thank you very much. And that's as we say, it's a lovely place. So Abu Dhabi and Dubai and the others. 3 years since the second week the AI was introduced. Yeah, Habiba, right from the very beginning. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude. 3 years again. ChatGPT, Grok. Now that's an interesting one. That's Elon Musk's, of course. I'm not super familiar with Grok, actually. I've played around with it because I've played around with most of them. But it's meant to be very good, and it's got its own sort of unique characteristics, I guess you could say. It's a bit more contentious. It's regarded as a bit more edgy than others. You've got ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and Firefly. Firefly is an Adobe product, which is really good for images, again, imagery, creative, that sort of thing. So Samir, I guess you're probably into creative side of things. Q8, 1 year ChatGPT. Fantastic. Login from Dubai. Again, I've not been to Kuwait, but I have been to Dubai many, many times. It's almost like a second home. ChatGPT and Claude. So there's there's a commonality between these things. I guess that's Samir, with the mention of the Firefly, Adobe Firefly, and as you know, there's also Runway, Midjourney, uh, Leonardo, and a whole load of other amazing creative tools out there. Higgsfield is one I've been playing with recently. That's like multiple creative apps all in one. And we'll be talking about apps in a minute and which ones to use and what you can use them for. Do not get overwhelmed by the proliferation of multiple apps. You don't get intimidated. There are dozens of apps. You go on LinkedIn and people publishing these massive lists of AI apps. You don't need more than 5 or 6 unless you are $100 million company. You don't really need more than 5 or 6. It's nice to play around with some, but you will end up finding that you do have a tech stack that you rely on, and you might take one out and add one in, as some people at the moment are switching out ChatGPT and switching in Claude. I would be sorry to say goodbye to either of those two because they're both very powerful. So let's pop back to the slide. So there's a nice mix, and you give me so we're talking some people like a month, some people a year, and some people 2 or 3 years, and a fairly consistent usage actually of those tools. A lot of them didn't surprise me. The great use of Claude, the great use of ChatGPT, the great use of Gemini. Not many co-pilots. I don't think we had a co-pilot user. Let's just have a look. Yes, we did. Hang on. Do we have a co-pilot? So Copilot is Microsoft's offering. And again, they're trying to build it into an ecosystem. Nothing wrong with Copilot. Again, it works with other tools like Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. And of course, Microsoft are no slouch when it comes to technology and innovation. And I'm sure they're also very much got skin in the game. They're very much competing with these other ones. So let's just go back to the slides. Now I have to, for a moment, I have to share my entire screen before I can get into this and that. So thank you very much. So you've answered those questions brilliantly. A moment about myself. I promise I won't be more than about 30 seconds, 45 seconds. I've been on the web for 26 years. In fact, it's more than that. I need to update that. I've been training for 23 years. I've worked with all the big tech companies, Google, Microsoft, IBM, Reuters. I've also just recently started working with, actually it's about a year ago, starting working with Amazon as well. So a lot of big pharma companies, banking companies, banks, tech companies. I'm a trainer, very proud to be a trainer for Leron, who have a brilliant presence in the whole GCC region and, of course, in Europe as well now. Very good training company. What I really like about Leron, and if you do start working with them or you work with them, you realize how friendly the people who work there are. They're really nice people, very supportive, very friendly people, and they always turn up to the training sessions. Always two, three of the people looking after the course will turn up just to say hello and make sure everything's going well. And that's really cool. This is a really great company to work with. I'm an adjunct professor at a couple of universities, including one of them being Westminster here in the UK, and I'm an AI obsessive. I'm going to write a whole line about what I do in AI, but trust me, I do a lot on AI. I use it all the time. I consult to clients. I train it. I've got various training courses I do. And along there, you've got a bunch of the companies I work for. But and here we are talking about AI. 2 pictures. Okay, I recently went to Tuscany and I took a photograph. And one of them was created with AI and one of them wasn't. I think it's obviously quite obvious in a way. Now I'm looking at it in sort of large screen format. I'm thinking it's obvious. Which one do you think was created by AI? And then I'm going to jump out. So I'm going to jump out and have a look, make sure you got all this is correct, which I'm sure you did. Let's have a look. So that's the photos. I'm going to jump out of this, jump back to that. Yeah, indeed. There's something wrong, isn't there? There's just basically something wrong at the moment. And I did my very best. And that's another thing when you're working with AI that you should always do. You should have seen the first one. The first one really wasn't very good at all. It's B that's the fake. it's too perfect, you know. When I saw this sort of exercise used by somebody else, they had a sunset, and they're actually much more difficult to determine. But this one is just too perfect. But it's not bad, and I think in another 6 months or a year, it will be completely indistinguishable. I did work with it. The first version just looked completely different. The colors were all wrong. So I brightened up the sunlight and I brightened up the sky and I put some wispy clouds in. The one on the left is actually near a place called Lucca in Tuscany. And you can see it's just more natural. And I even tried, I said it, could you make the trees more realistic? And all it did is put like fluffy bits on the left-hand side, but it's just too perfect. There's too much of the bough of the trees showing, and the colors aren't quite right. The leaves just don't quite make it. But, as I said, these things are all changing as we speak. And but not quite there yet on the imagery. And by the way, I just used ChatGPT. I didn't use Midjourney or any of the specialist, as I mentioned, Higgsfield or any of those to do the image on the right. And actually, ChatGPT's image creating is really good. So one of the big points, I've got to keep a really good eye on the time here. One of the big points about this session, what it's not about replacing marketeers with AI. It's not sort of you're going to get replaced, you're going to lose your job type of thing. It's actually about how we as marketers, and I assume that there is an element of marketing that you've come to attend this webinar for as well, how we can use it by working together. And if you've been using AI, as I know some of you have for 2 or 3 years, you know how powerful it is. You know what you can do with it. And if you've just joined, then you will be amazed. You will keep saying you'll be working with it or playing with it, and you'll keep saying, "Whoa, look what I've done," because you can do amazing things, and you can do stuff super, super fast. And some of the sort of basic tasks that we do in digital marketing, I'll give an example, like keyword research. Keyword research used to take hours, days, even weeks. Now you can get really good target keywords that you want to target with your advertising, with your search, organic search or your paid search. You can get them in literally seconds. And when I'm running the course and I say, right, okay, we're going to use AI to do some keyword research, back in the day, I'd say, right, go off and look at some of the standard tools out there. And people would, come back 15 minutes later. you do that and you say, you can use AI, and people come back literally 20 seconds and say, I've done it, you know. But so where does the time? What do I teach? Well, I think one of the things you have to be able to do when you are using AI is discern the good from the not so good. Okay. So it's all very well saying do target some keywords and it'll find some keywords we can target and it'll go off and do that really, really quickly. But are the keywords it comes back with valuable and useful? Okay. And we'll be talking more about that a bit later. So AI is not a zero-sum competition between humans and the machine. It's a positive sum collaboration. And I've referred to some reports in this slides. I believe you can, you have to check this with Mark, but I'm pretty sure you're welcome to have all the slides from this webinar. But if you want any of the reports, then if you contact me on LinkedIn or in any other way, then WhatsApp or whatever you like, I'm happy to share the reports. This report, the State of Marketing 2026, is really, really good. Okay. So by all means, contact me. I'll wing them over to you. No price, no cost, no conditions. Just I'll get it over to you. But I thought about doing links to it and that sort of thing. But why not? So contact me and I'll get those. So in a recent 2026 HubSpot study, I actually think it's more than this. But anyway, how many hours did marketers save each week by using AI? You're guessing, basically. So how many hours did marketers? So I'll give you a moment to come up with an answer. I can't see the chat, by the way, so I have no idea what you're putting in. You can say A, B, C, D, or 6.1, or 7.8, or 4.2, or whatever it is. I'll give you a second to answer that. Just keeps the slide session interactive. Okay, let's go and see what you've had, what you've got here, and then I'll come back and show you the answer. Let's get out of that. Let's go here. Okay, what have we got? Chat. 7.8, 7.8, 6.1, 6.1. Yeah, actually, strange enough, you're all right. And I'll tell you why you're all right. I'll show you this in a moment. If I go back to the slides, you'll understand why you're right. Okay, so let's go here. As I say, I'm sorry for just having to bounce backwards and forwards. You don't normally have to do this with webinars, or you don't see this during webinars. So I'm now sharing that. Go back to maximizing it. It's very interesting, this, because it depends on what it was the marketer was doing. The answer is 6.1 on average. Yeah, on average. So there were people lower, people higher. But content marketing saving 7.8 hours, and SEO specialists 6.9 hours. So that 6.1 and that 7.8, in fact, I don't think I included 6.9, were all correct, because obviously a lot of the reasons people use AI is to create content, and we will be talking about that. That's a lot of time if you think about it. That's nearly a day a week. That's like, if you have a 5-day week, that's 20% of time straight off the bat, yeah, by creating content. Of course, there is a downside to getting AI creating content, and it's sort of slightly indicated in my avenue of cypress trees, in the sense that sometimes it's not very good at coming up with stuff that's specific or personalized or telling a nice story. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. You have to train it if you really want it to get good at creating content. And ideally, you want to train it with things that you have personally created without AI. So if you want to get it writing like you, then what you do is you write, maybe you keep a diary, maybe you write stories, maybe you write marketing content yourself, maybe you've written content in the past. You put that all into AI, 20, 25 pieces, and you can say, this is how I write. Yeah. And then you can say, okay, now write me something in my style with my voice. All humans have a particular way of writing. They have a style of writing, and it's good, if it makes it more natural. Because personally, I ran an AI. There are tools out there that can check content for whether they've been written by AI, and I've run some. I ran some through 10 LinkedIn posts, and 6 of them were written by AI. And sometimes, because it uses the M space, it uses certain words, certain phraseology, certain comparisons, certain way of speaking. It's sometimes it's okay if the quality is still maintained, nothing wrong with that. But sometimes the quality is not maintained. Okay, so anyway, let's carry on. The next 90 minutes, what are we going to do? Right, well, we're already 25 minutes in. So how does modern marketing function? We're going to whistle through that we're going to whistle through all of it quite quickly, because I only have an hour and a half. But again, I want you to get a feeling of what the course is like as well. As I said, this isn't a sales pitch. You are going to go away having learned things, hopefully. How does modern marketing function today? So we're going to set the scene, so to speak. Next one, how can we manage marketing campaigns more effectively with AI? Now, there's 1 or 2 questions I'd love to ask you in the intro, but I might ask you later on about how, if you've been using AI for 3 years, so where you've got to, what you're doing now with it. The next one is, how can we automate to save time, make our jobs easier, and improve results? So how can we automate things? That's another level of coolness. Okay, getting AI tools to do things automatically, right? One of the obvious ones isn't very difficult to set up at all. It's basically when you get a lead come in via a form on a website, automatically putting it into a database. That's super easy. But then identifying the quality of the lead by going off and running a search on the web about the lead. Does that make sense? So you could do that all automatically, and that would be a marketing qualified lead, an MQL. AI would be the perfect thing to do that. So you don't need a human being pulling anything out of anything, because the AI will do it all for you and simply provide you with a list of MQLs, marketing qualified leads. And finally, we're going to talk about what to expect from AI in the future. Just going to touch on that a little bit. Okay, so these are the 4 areas we're going to focus on. It's actually the next 60 minutes now. So let's talk about modern marketing. Now, what I'd like you to share with me, again, I'm going to have to bounce out to go to chat, is what do you think are the biggest marketing challenges right now? Okay, what do you think are the biggest marketing challenges right now? Just going to give you a few seconds to answer that question, and then I'll get back to you. Okay, I'm going to have a look at what you put. Just pop it into chat. What do you think of what are your most biggest marketing challenges? We're all in the hope we're all in the field of marketing. What are you finding is the biggest challenges? So I'm going to jump out at this. Actually, I realize I haven't shared that, so we'll. Okay. Thank you for those of you who put something in. So optimizing, and basically great one there, Mohammed. Optimizing and the best utilization of resources. Every business, no matter how large or small, even if you're Microsoft or Google or any of Elon Musk's businesses, you have a budget, you have resources, okay, and using those resources. So yes, I'm just going to write these down, literally, because I'm going to scroll beyond this. Send the correct message on the correct platform. So messaging and platform alignment. Yeah, that's a wonderful one. Abdullah, that's fantastic. Messaging and platform alignment. Yeah. The correct, yeah. Habiba, the innovation and creativity. Yes. Something actually that AI is pretty good at coming up with ideas. Okay, Naval, nice full answer here. I feel it's not the integration of AI. I think it's the possible outcomes and misconceptions that everything is possible without human involvement. I think that's very, very true, Naval. A lot of people think that, oh, I'm working with AI now. I can sort of pull out of this. I can just let it get on with what it does. And you are very, very right. I have to agree with you. 100%. It goes back to one of the slides I mentioned earlier. It absolutely is valid. I do not think there's this great fear going on in the world that AI is going to take jobs away. No, what it will do is it will change the jobs. Instead of having people working on repetitive tools that can easily be handled by AI, it'll allow human beings to work at another level. I don't think AI is going to cause mass unemployment. I know not in digital marketing anyway. I think what it will create is people who work in digital marketing, who do understand AI and do know how to use it, are going to be in great demand. And I think it's because of what we've been talking about earlier. I would say it's a must to have a human being or human element, as you say, the human factor is very much still valid. Okay, and if people think that they can, so I'm going to put human input. People think they can just remove the human element. No way. Even when automating stuff, if you set up your own agents and things and start automating, the agents always say, "Oh well, could you just check this so I can do it?" It doesn't. It proactively says, if you've trained it right, can you check this before I make it the final version? Implement the strategy in the proper way as needed. So strategy implementation, and all of these are big challenges, and we will be covering a little bit about how you can use AI to help you. Yeah. Sometimes you can use AI to do the work and then you judge it, you can modify it. AI is not a one shot. In other words, what I mean is AI isn't like search. Find me a decent Italian restaurant that does a great lasagna. Oh gosh, I've got the La Roma down the road. That's search, right? AI is about what we say in English, iteration. You have a conversation with it. Sometimes I have conversations with AI that go on for hours and hours, partly because it's very prolific. It often gives you a bigger answer than you need, but partly because it's wrong. Sometimes it talks rubbish. And I challenge it, and then it apologizes often and then says, "Oh, no, you're right. This is the right answer." But you can have the whole idea is to have a conversation. So essentially, what you're learning is how to talk to a robot, right? A robot that's got problems sometimes. It doesn't. I rarely ask it things. I've never asked it things like political opinions and stuff because I don't know how it's been trained. But I do when it comes to mathematics and science. It's particularly good. It doesn't usually get that wrong. It's rubbish. ChatGPT is hopeless at playing chess, though. It started making moves up and stuff. But anyway, let's go back to the slides. I'm getting completely off. Hang on, I need to share this first. We go back to the slides. Say it's just the way WebEx works. I shall try and persuade Leon not to use. Let's use Google Meet or Zoom or any of the others. Right. Okay, we're sharing that. So let's have a look. Challenges. Some of the more standard challenges, proving ROI. In other words, that's the use of data, measuring data and making decisions from that data. Yeah. Budget and resource constraints, which is what we talked about. One of you mentioned utilization of resources, content creation, yeah, which was innovation and creativity, and also to some degree messaging and platforms, um, measurement, which is also something that's a big challenge, particularly when it comes to attribution. Attribution is a marketing thing where if people are going to different channels or touch points, in other words, they're using social, they're using search, they're looking at ads and so on before they arrive at your site and buy something, how do you attribute the purchase? We'll be talking about that more in the course. Privacy and data compliance, and of course, the very thing we're talking about today, using AI. And we will get to actually how to do it. So when we stand back, we're still at sort of helicopter view. We've got to get insight. And one of those insights has to be, who are our customers? We need to think about strategy, having identified who our customers are and the market we work in. Obviously, there are certain particularly important markets in Saudi Arabia and the Emirates, and they are things like banking, hospitality and tourism, healthcare, real estate, construction, obviously energy, even farming in places like Abu Dhabi. And so it matters about markets as well. And that's why whenever you use an AI tool, no matter what the AI tool is, make sure you give it what we call context. Okay. So there's something called prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is how to write prompts properly or effectively, and context engineering is giving that prompt context. Yeah. There's also another element to this, which is training. I think training your favorite tools is really, really important because you get much better answers. And on that point, never really ever accept the first answer you get. Always ask for improvement. But anyway, I'm getting slightly off piece and come back to insight, strategy, execution, or implementation. Yeah. Is how do you do it? And this is about delivering your message on the right channel. Okay. And the last one there is optimization. One tool I love where I put all the campaigns I'm working on, and if you haven't discovered it, I'm going to tell you about it very briefly. It's at the hub of many power users of AI. It's at the hub of their ecosystem. And the tool is called Notion. That's Notion. Notion it's like a sort of, well, it's an everything really. It's where you can put all your projects, you can store all your projects, you can connect it with pretty well every other AI tool you need to connect it to. And it's a great place for archiving things, planning things, putting things where you know they're going to be safe. And it's multifunctional. Okay. I could have done this whole session just on talking about Notion. It's very, very powerful. It's easy to use. It's slightly more difficult to use well, but you'll get the hang of it once you start using it. And you'll thank me when we meet, ever, if we meet. You'll say that tip on Notion. Notion, Notion. And there's lots of YouTube videos on it and so on. Yeah. That's one I would recommend if you are in the business of planning campaigns. Okay. So modern customer. Now, this is understanding our customers. I'm going to speed up a bit because of timing. So the thing about the modern customer, let's be honest, I've added a note here, markets such as KSA, the modern customer is not the same as the old customer, the older customer. They research, they have access, they can pull their smartphones out and get access to as much as they need to know to make the buying decision. They want things quickly, I want things quickly. I expect if I don't get something or I'm not promised something the next day, I tend to go and find somewhere else where it does, where I can, right? You can compare easily, you compare prices, quality, feature set, benefits, geolocation, etc. And we can do that at the touch of a not even a button, touch of a screen. And we move around between channels and touch points. The modern customer is always on the move, moving about. How many websites do you look at a day? Or nowadays, how many interrogations do you make? How many chats do you have with your favorite AI tool? Because you might be searching less. Well, I know you're searching less because you're using AI more, right? Where does AI get a lot of its information from? The web. Yeah. So even when you're optimizing for AI, you have to think differently. We'll talk about that more in the course, but it's about being the source of information, right? And the modern customer, they're doing the same thing. You are a modern customer. They're using AI to find stuff to buy, right? Data challenges. This is another part of the challenge at the moment. The amount of data being used is enormous, right? It's got a term actually. It's called big data, and we're getting data from multiple sources. I read when I was researching a bit for this actual webinar, I read that there are large companies, big brands, global brands, have 400 sources of data. 400. I mean, that's a lot, And how possibly could you monitor those sources of data for insights other than using a machine to do it, right? So data analysis is something that AI excels at. It's fragmented. It's in different places. Banks, for example, they use mountains of data. Sorry, they get mountains of data, but they'd only use 5% of it up to now. We need data to make decisions. That's why we collect data in the first place. And we need data to improve what we do. This is one of the other reports I looked at in the run up to this webinar. And this is actually a screen grab. I'm a bit lazy on me here because I just grabbed a screen grab. But it type of blew me away a bit because when I actually read the numbers, a 48% increase in revenue by using AI to capture priority customer segments, 100 times increase in production speed for content creation. I mean, we talk about the 7 hours saved, but this is 100 times, right? And that's because of a big thing, which we're going to mention before we leave, and that's because of agents. We'll talk about agents before we finish this session. 300 times improvement in article development with generative AI, a 50% increase in click-through rate. Now, as marketeers, we love click-through rates. We want high click-through rates. And look at that, because we can learn more about our customers, more about what triggers them clicking on the buttons we want them to click on in order to buy our products and services. And a 36% potential time savings from optimizing audiences and journey design. This is the Deloitte analysis, another report I've got and can share with you. It's obviously not my report, or I can share you the link, whatever. Contact me if you're interested in that. I'll share that with you as well. Okay, I mean, that's why I screen grabbed this. And you can see in the little tiny boxes, you can use all the areas where AI can help or can do things for you. Now, this is not, I need to emphasize again the point that Naval made, this is not taking human beings out of the equation. Human beings are staying very much still in the equation, okay? So speed becomes a competitive advantage. So this is where we use AI for speed, as I've sort of touched on this one already, but you can create everything much faster. You can make decisions faster, faster campaigns, and that gives you an absolute, you by simply attending this webinar, if you learn 2 or 3 things from it, hope you learn more than that, but you are giving yourself an advantage over other people, right? So now we're just going to talk about we're going to get into the real meat and potatoes. We're going to get into, as we say, we're going to get into the real, actual, a bit of hands-on stuff. Okay. How do we make this all work? All right. What do we actually have to do to make it work? Okay. And so we're going to look at the strategic view just to start with, but not for long. And then we're going to look at what we need to make it work. And then we're going to look at a couple of details on some of the things. And then we are going to, hopefully, even if you've been using AI for 2 or 3 years, we're going to talk about something else. Not else, we obviously talk about AI, but something so powerful that it's literally changing the world as we speak, right? And I remember once years ago, I was in the Baltic countries, actually. I think I was in Latvia or somewhere like that. And a guy during the session came up to me and he said, "Please don't tell us that Facebook is big." And I said, "I promise I won't tell you Facebook is big," because everybody at the time was saying, "Oh, look how powerful Facebook is. It's really big. You've got to use it." Of course, it then had various competitors. And I suppose someone will probably come up to me and say, "Please don't tell us that the AI is really powerful." So just take it though for now. Well, because you've all been using it. You know how powerful it is, and actually, I don't think we yet know quite how powerful it is because it's still evolving. Okay, so we're going to look at these things, right? The first one is on the left-hand side here. You have a typical marketing workflow. Okay. And we always, of course, this is what I have been teaching for the last 26 years. I've been teaching this marketing workflow, really, in one shape or another. Some call it digital transformation, some call it omnichannel marketing, it's got lots of names. But you start with the customer because, of course, the customer has to be at the center of everything. And then you define the objectives. Typically, we teach SMART objectives. It's part of the course. Then you choose your messaging. And this is the messaging has to align with who you're targeting. And then you build talks about that one of the challenges that you mentioned here. How can you align the messaging with the actual platforms you're using or the channels you're using? And that's very much into the content play. You then have to make the assets, which up to now has taken a long time. You've often had to outsource to agencies who charge very high fees to create images and videos. All of that is falling over. In fact, there's a recent-ish tool called Google have just launched called Pomeli. That's Pomelli, that actually does it all for you. It will create everything for you: websites, ads, videos, Instagram story, the lot. It'll do the whole lot for you, and that's called Pomeli. And what's amazing about Pomeli, it's free. Okay, at the moment, it's completely free. The negative side of it is that it's only available in certain regions or countries. So if you're in a region that it doesn't cover, then I'd strongly recommend getting a proxy, using VPN to actually have a look at it and work with it. Very easy. Every time they do this regional thing, VPN spikes, usage spike. So creating the assets, launching and measuring AI is brilliant at pulling insights from data, basically, and then using all those results to cycle back, etc. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this lot because this is crazy. AI can actually help you do for you all of those things. So analyze customer data, build smarter objectives. And what happens when I'm building a campaign using AI? As I said, I tend to put all the outcomes into Notion. So you create the campaign, you essentially start it off in Notion, and then you use other AI tools to start putting all the stuff in. So it's a multivariant basic workflow because you're going to be using different tools for different things. Now, some of the tools like ChatGPT, like Claude, are trying to be everything to everybody, but actually you find that sometimes a tool works better for you for, say, audio, like 11 Labs or HeyGen. You might want to use multiple tools. The problem with, as an individual, using multiple tools, you can end up doing what I did, which is ending up having $1,000 monthly bill for all the tools you're using, which, for an individual is okay if you're getting a lot of work come in. For a business, not so much. You might want to have more tools, or each division has its own suite of tools. But it's working these tools together that really, really is another way of bringing the magic, okay? So I've got an example here, but for timing reasons, I'm not going to really spend much time with it. It's simply, I just wanted to customize it. So you've got a Saudi weekend escape for maybe a hotel chain or something like that. You can see AI will be able to basically build this whole thing for you and do it in a contiguous way. In other words, each step will integrate with the next step. Now, when I say AI, I mean multiple tools. So what I want you to think about when you are going back to your offices, thing to do is make a list of or identify all the opportunities where you could use AI and you're not using AI yet, okay? Both in your personal lives, but very importantly, in your working life. Literally identify all the things that AI could help you do or do for you. Now, when I say do for you, I mean, you don't just let it loose and say, right, go off and do this. And it goes off and posts some really dumb things on Instagram or something. You are the human being. You are going to be quality control. You are going to say, no, don't do that, or improve that, or get rid of that. That's rubbish. That's wrong. That's brilliant, and so on. You will be the ultimate, as we say in English, arbiter, the judge of what goes. But it will take all the heavy lifting, as we say, away from you. It will be able to do things. And some things it won't be able to do, to be absolutely honest. But what do we need to deliver this? Okay. So this moves on to what we need, basically. And as you can hear, I've got AI to create for me. I didn't design this. Got AI to create for me. By the way, one thing I do, I create formats I like for things, and then I give those formats a name, right? And I commit that to memory. So if it does the format and it does it well, I'll say, right, I like this format, save it as this particular format you're looking at is unique to me because I created it, is called VisClean, and it's visual I want a visually clean design. Okay, so I called it VisClean. So with my particularly version of ChatGPT, I say in a VisClean format, and it knows exactly what I'm talking about. Create a diagram showing these things, right? And that's what it does. And if I wanted everything in red and yellow or purple and pink, I could do that because I would say VisClean colorways 2 or something. You can name stuff. So I don't have to keep training AI on the same old stuff over and over again. And that's really useful for shortcuts. I have dozens of those, literally dozens of not sort of code words, but short names for things that I want AI to do. And if I can't remember them, then I will say to AI, please list, please, I don't say please anymore, I used to, list all the shortcut command words I've got and what each one means. And it gives me this big list of them. Now, you see tools, training, data, processes, frameworks, budgets. That's just a list, okay? But it obviously explains these are the things you actually need. But I'm going to focus on 2 of them. Why am I going to focus on 2 of them? Because I don't have time to go through all of them, all right? I'm going to focus on the ones that I guess in some ways we're most familiar with, but in other ways we aren't, right? So, I mean, frameworks, you've got some frameworks there and so on. This is a nice little blueprint plan, if you like. And I'm going to focus on those 2 just to start, A, because they're number 1 and 2, and B, because I think if you've only been in AI, using AI for a month, then I think it's really worth knowing what I'm about to tell you. Okay. And that's on tools and training. Now, this is a chart I pulled off LinkedIn that, quite frankly, is as much use, as we say in English, as much use as a chocolate teapot, right? If you put tea in chocolate, it melts. It is like scary. You know, it's here's a load of tools for marketing. And it's not helpful at all because there's no qualification. It just says, okay, the only thing you've got that indicates is these little colored boxes. It's a nightmare, right? And I dare say it's all correct, and I dare say it was created by AI. Whoever did it, it did a good job, or AI did a good job. And it probably took them 2 or 3 minutes. No, not even that, maybe 45 seconds, right? So that was my reaction, or that would be my reaction if I was thinking about using tools for AI. And I saw that on LinkedIn. I think, oh, what? Is that? And it's also intimidating. Quite frankly, it's just off-putting. It just scares people away. For me, it's not helpful in any way, shape, or form. And so I think what you have to do when you're choosing the tools is ask yourself some questions. And I have identified 5 questions here. One of them is specific to yourselves. What marketing problem are we trying to improve? Yeah. What are we trying to achieve? What is it that we're trying to do? Right? Is it write better content? Is it get more? And looking at the things that you talked about, your challenges, right? It's quite clear to me now that each of you has these challenges. Utilization or efficient utilization of resources, right? You could have that conversation with an AI tool. You might not agree with what it says to you, but it would give you an answer. Messaging alignment, yeah. With platforms, innovation and creativity, more ideas. A friend of mine who has a very popular channel for mums on Instagram said to me, where can I need more ideas? I said, have you ever talked to your AI tool, ChatGPT, about ideas for she's got about 600,000 followers, for more ideas she makes these funny 30-second videos called My Kind of Mum. And she's actually the daughter of a late friend of mine. Very, very successful. And I said, and she got back to me about a week later. It's brilliant, it's great. It comes up with ideas. Yeah, she rejects half of them. She probably rejects 2/3 of them. It does come up with some good ideas. Innovation, creativity, human input was your point about strategy and implementation. So what is it we're trying to improve? And that's where I say that goes back to the human being. That's where you need to think, well, what am I trying to improve, right? Your question may be very broad, like, How could I improve my own personal income? Yeah, that would be a bit, that would get you an answer, but then you'd probably want to drill down into what it answers with. Okay, what tools and data do we already have? That's another question you need to ask. You may already have Canva, you may already have Photoshop, you may already have Illustrator, you may already have Excel spreadsheets. What do you already have that you use on a regular basis? You may already have a CRM like HubSpot or Salesforce. What processes do we need to support? In other words, marketing doesn't work in a vacuum, or it shouldn't. It should be also working with HR. It should be working, of course, with core ones would be customer services and sales. And you've probably already got in place, certainly if you're working for a larger business, you will have in place some processes. If you're working for a smaller business, maybe you're a startup or thinking of starting up, then you need to develop processes. Apple apparently are very good at processes. And this is the next question here. And this was very interesting when I asked you what tools you use, because there's always a core assistant, okay? There is a difference between ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, and Notion. By the way, Notion is more about managing whole projects than just the problem with projects in ChatGPT. They're not great. You can create a project in ChatGPT, but all it is a list of other chats that you had. Whereas a project in Notion is very much more than that. Yeah, you can do lots of things. You can create internal databases, spreadsheets, etc., all sorts of things, right? But here, what are you going to use? Now, you're only going to be using really a handful of these things, right? And you really want to decide whether you're going to go down the Microsoft route, which none of you have, which is Copilot using the various Microsoft tools. Some businesses are very heavily investing in Copilot, or the Google route, which I know one or two of you have, which is Gemini and the Workspace, because these all bear costs. Workspace doesn't come free. Claude is rapidly evolving itself at the moment, making leaps and bounds, trying to getting into what's called vibe coding. Vibe coding enables people without any coding knowledge whatsoever to build their own applications. And it's huge fun because I've been doing it and it's great fun. And you can literally write your own apps, or rather get Claude Cowork to write code to write apps for you. There are other tools like Bubble and Replit that will do that, but Claude is really hitting that space hard. And it's got sort of sub products, as has ChatGPT, and they're in a competition basically. What other layers do we need? So when I say layers, I mean, what outside our core, what do we do? Are we creative? Are we making videos? Are we research into research? Are we analyzing lots of data? And of course, automation. We need to be thinking ultimately about automation. And then this last question, specific to yourselves really, do we need Arabic, English, or both? Or other languages as well, Spanish, Chinese, whatever, right? In other words, what languages do we need? And when you think about it, you then think, okay, where do you start? Well, I would always start with this core assistant, right? Because it makes sense. Start with ChatGPT, and then learn as much as you can about it, right? There are lots of courses you can get all over the place. There's YouTube videos, or the best way of learning is just play with it, use it, hammer it, thrash it, click on all the buttons, learn where to personalize it, learn where to customize it, learn how to create your own GPTs, right? That will teach you more than anything else, actually doing it. You don't learn to drive a car by reading a book about how to drive a car. You learn to drive a car by driving a car. And no, you won't know if you're starting. If you've only been on AI, using AI for a month, of course, you're a beginner. Everybody started. If you're using it for 3 years, I'd love to have a private chat with you to find out and discuss with you how you're using it now and how your usage has changed, right? But that's the questions you should ask, right? I wanted to share with you my own personal stack, right? So I use all four there of the core assistants. The reason is uniquely I train these things, right? So I have to know about all of them. If I had to use only one, I'd probably use just ChatGPT or possibly Claude. But then I like Gemini because it's works with all the Google tools, and I like Copilot because it works with all the Microsoft tools. But it's my job to teach people and train people, and certainly in the course I referred to previously, we will be playing with all those tools, right? The next one is research. Perplexity is fantastic. The data and the reports that I've referred to in this little webinar, I found through Perplexity, okay? And if you haven't discovered Perplexity, go and check it out. Now, Notebook LM is a Google tool, okay? And what it here is you almost create your own little internal ecosystem. So you can put stuff into your little projects in Notebook LM, and then from that you can essentially you're almost creating like what's called a walled garden, and you're putting stuff in it. Could be videos, could be reports, could be data, and then you can reformat it in different ways. If you wanted to create different images or animations or things like that, yep, you could do that. Those sorts of things with Notebook LM, flashcards or whatever. Content and design. There are mountains of there's a couple I haven't included: Pictory, Runway. No, I have included Runway lower down. So content and design. Canva is the big player in town. Everybody uses Canva. Midjourney I used to use a lot. I use it less now that ChatGPT does images. Gamma, along with other things, Gamma is what helps people make slide decks. And yes, I used a bit of Gamma in some of the layouts you're seeing, some of the formats. Gamma tends to create things with very small font sizes. So I find there's often increasing those font sizes. But Gamma, along with others, there's Presenti, for example. There's Tome. This is presentation software, but this is my own tech stack. Okay. Video and audio, I think I've mentioned. Runway, Higgsfield, HeyGen. HeyGen's great for translating videos into other languages. And then automation, which is Zapier, Make, and various CRM tools, particularly in my case, HubSpot. So that's my tech stack. Yours is going to be different. That costs me quite a sum. That probably costs me around $300, something like that, a month, right? If you're doing it for yourself, you probably don't want to go that far. But I would definitely have a core assistant, one of those. I'd probably have Perplexity. Interestingly, I haven't included Notion, which is strange. I should have done. Notion, I'd probably create Notion. I'll probably have Canva, Gamma if you need it for presentations. Higgsfield at the moment is my favorite on the creative side, and Zapier is great for automation, or Zapier, I don't know correct pronunciation. So there are the tools. Yeah. Why do I use them? Because I ask these questions, right? There are certain things. My job is to train people, and I do a degree of consultancy as well, but often the two overlap. And essentially it comes down to training people. So those are the tools I have. You may be different, okay? The skills you need, okay? So these are the skills, and I'm sort of heading towards the end of this session because I want a little activity I'd like you to do. So the skills you need, I'm just going to ask, before I move on, are there any questions about, I'm going to check chat. Do you have any questions at all you would like to ask me at all? I'm just going to wait for a moment if you've got any questions you'd like to ask. Okay, I have a question. Brilliant, Ahmed. That's excellent. Okay, my question from your point of view, how to ride the wave and make the AI taking my job to another level and not to be drawn under the wave. That's a brilliant question. That is absolutely a brilliant question. Okay. Is it education? Is it trial? Or is there another way to get the max of this trend? And honestly, don't you think it's over-exaggerated, all this change for AI? Finally, what do you think the next step is after agentic AI? Okay. There's actually 3 questions there, right? Okay. And then, Samir, you've asked the question, is there a difference between agentic AI and automation? I'm going to talk about, in order to do that, I'm going to talk about agents in a minute. My question was how to ride the wave. Well, firstly, Ahmed, it's I was around when the web first started, and everybody got really excited about the web, and it went on, and then things got. That was in about 1996, and the web blew up. But it wasn't really until 4 or 5 years later. I'm talking about 2000, when businesses really realized that they needed a website. And then we had websites obviously exploding, the use of websites exploding between 2000 and then 2007 came along, Facebook launched, and that was a massive game changer because social media, there had been social media before. And the thing about riding waves, we're all just one human being, right? None of us are 2 or 5 human beings. We all have 24 hours in the day. We all have to sleep for 8 of those hours or 6 of those hours, depending on what sort of circadian rhythm you keep to, which means we've got about, what is that, 16 hours to do other stuff. We've got family, we've got lives going on. And so we're all human beings. There's only so much you can do, right? I think, ironically, that's one of the reasons people are getting excited by AI, because they can do a lot more with a lot less. You can do a lot more with just a simple prompt. You can go in and say, plan a holiday to Croatia that takes in the best beaches, and I want 3 or 4 restaurants included as well. Include the price of flights, the flight times, and I want to go the week beginning July the 10th. And it'll do all of that for you in 30 seconds, right? Now, then you look at what you get and you go, okay, you might want to go off and actually look at the beach on YouTube. But that 30 seconds to actually go off and have done all that research, the flight prices, the restaurants, the travel, the journeys, the time it takes to get there, etc., would have taken you hours. And so you can do more. But that doesn't mean you can do 10 holidays, if you see what I mean. You can still, you're just booking one holiday by doing that. It's a case of not letting it get to you. There's a lot of people out there talking actually a lot of rubbish about AI as well. And don't let this wave concept, just take it at your own pace. Okay, just take it at your own pace. I would take a moment to sit back and think about it and identify where you would be comfortable using it as well, right? There's some people who wouldn't use it to research a holiday if you paid them, there are some people who don't trust AI at all. I have 2 of my family don't trust AI at all. My wife thinks that, and she's right to a degree, that anything you put into AI could be used or accessed by other people, other businesses. That happens to be true unless you tell it not to. And my daughter thinks it's all a lot of nonsense because she has a big faith in human beings. As far as I'm aware, nobody's being forced to use AI. I think if you work in a business, they might expect you to use AI. But whatever, I think everyone needs to take it all at their own pace and not be influenced by these people who've built up 800,000 followers on LinkedIn. Don't get intimidated. But that's a general message to you anyway. The amount of nonsense spoken on social media by people is off the scale. That is a bit of an opinion, but don't let things get you in a negative way, right? Access these things at your own pace and in your own time. And quite frankly, if you only wanted to use one AI app to help you, navigate your personal life, that's fine. That is absolutely fine. Or if you didn't, it's not like it's going to make a difference. But no, I think people have to deal with things personally, and don't allow yourself to mentally go into that. Oh no, there's even more stuff to learn. There is so much going on out there. You couldn't possibly, even if you spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours every day learning as much as you can about it, there's still mountains you're never going to learn. So just take it at your own pace, whatever's comfortable with you. Is it educational trials? Is there another way to get the max of this terminology? Don't you think it's over exaggerated? Answer the first question. Walk before you could stand before you can walk. Walk. What's the next one? Stand before you can walk. Walk before you can run, and run before you can sprint. Don't, again, take it at your own pace. Simply coming on this webinar, I'm hoping you're getting a bigger idea of the overview of AI. I deliberately haven't gone into how to prompt or how to create agents. I could easily do that. It wouldn't take me very long. It would probably take me 20 minutes. But I didn't, I thought, shall I turn this into a how to? But I felt that was inappropriate. However, if you come on the course and listen, I will, of course, I'll be showing people how to create agents. Of course, I'll be showing people how to prompt, because we've got, 37, 40 hours, and it's a lot easier to show you do stuff. Or if you don't go on the course, then obviously there are, other sources where you can find out about prompt engineering, context engineering, and these other things. People like to name things. One thing I would do, I would definitely put your favorite AI tool on your smartphone and use it as a default. So, if you need to find a bus or a train or a flight, or someone says something you don't understand, or you're watching a movie and you want to find a bit more about the actor, whatever it is, have it close to you. Another great thing about ChatGPT is there's an audio version. So if I go to my ChatGPT here and I tap on it, the bottom you'll see as a little speaky thing, what looks like a speaker, and I could put that there. And now I can say to ChatGPT, I can speak to it. Yeah. So I can say, hi, here you go. Hang on.
Absolutely.
Say hello to my friends.
Hello, friends. It's great to have all of you here. Let me know what's on your mind.
Okay. That was ChatGPT speaking to you. I can ask it anything. And it's got quite a deep American voice. It's just, I think that's the default one. I haven't got around to changing it yet. There's some of the other voices are a bit squeaky, but I walk the dog. I have these chats with GPT. I probably look insane, but we talk about everything. Anyway, yeah. So is there another way to get the max of this trend? I think that is absolutely in the eye of the beholder. Some people think it's all over exaggerated. Some people think it isn't. I think people do talk about it far too much. They do. But believe me, that will pass. That will pass within a year. Ahmed, basically, all this excitement, it will settle down. It will become part of life. And everybody, when something big happens and it's new, everybody talks about it a lot. I would, if you want to get ahead in your job, I would recommend that you do take it seriously. But again, don't burn yourself out. Just learn. Just keep learning. And hey, you're on the webinar, so you obviously want to. What's the next step after agentic AI? Well, actually, I'd say I think agentic AI, which we'll talk about in a minute, and then I'll answer that question. I'll say next step after agentic AI is a very, very good question. I'll answer that, but I need to just mention agentic AI first. Is there a difference between agentic AI and automation? There is, as it happens. Agentic and automation. That's a question from Samir. Thank you for your questions. Now, I'm not going to forget those. Okay, I will come back to that, but I just want to get to automation first, if that makes sense. So I'm going to share this. Let's go back to the slides, and because I do need to get to agentic AI in order to talk about it. And as luck would have it, so those are the skills, right? I didn't know whether any of you were managers, but when you're thinking about building AI within a company, or whether you're a business owner building it, you need to be thinking these things. And the other things, by the way, these are the skills: prompt engineering, context engineering, yeah, training AI. In other words, you need to know how to train AI, how to and you, because you should be training your AI. Marketing judgment. This is particularly with AI and digital marketing. When I was talking to AI about what I should cover in this webinar, I didn't agree with everything it was suggesting, and I discussed it for quite a while. You know, I had a whole hours of chat. I can't remember whether I was walking my dog or not, but I wanted it to have impact on your lives. I wanted you to realize how it can make your life easier without overwhelming you. Do not let it overwhelm you. And I think the first thing to do is to set down to be very clear about what you want to use it for. And then think about the tools that you're using, and even talk to it about what tools you might need. And even say you don't want to be overwhelmed. You don't want to have long answers. You want short answers. If you want short answers, you don't want to be overwhelmed with stuff, right? Workflow design, that's probably for another day. Data literacy, definitely for another day. Talk about data. App knowledge. I say here, don't get overwhelmed. Knowing a lot about how to use 2 or 3 different apps would be fine. And then agentic AI, we're going to talk about that in a minute. All right. Agentic. So what are we talking about when we talk about agentic? What agentic basically is, it's basically putting sort of ring fencing a thing, okay, and training it in such a way as to this thing work in a specific area, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you the best prompt that there is. If you go on LinkedIn, you see loads of, here's my library of 300 prompts, and get AI to write the prompt for you, okay? That is the best tip I ever give people. If you don't know how to write a prompt, say to AI, write a prompt to ... Okay. Now, if you want to write a prompt for an agent, write a prompt to train an agent to handle all my email. Full stop. I use Gmail. Full stop. Right? AI will write the prompt for you. So if you want to create an agent, it will write the prompts. It will give you the prompts, right? And you build agents in different ways in different platforms. On ChatGPT, they're called GPTs. They're top left-hand corner, explore GPTs. And again, I definitely include it in the course, but it's not a difficult thing to do. You basically create a GPT, okay? And it's an agent. And if you want it, typically you get agents to do specific things. So it could be analyze your website data, right? It could be reply to and create emails and email campaigns. It could be build a SEO campaign, right? Or build SEO campaigns, right? And all of these, in order to build them, you get, it's the irony, you get AI to help you build them, right? Now, you can build agents without having any automation at all, right? Well, not at all. You can build them that they do these things, but they're still going to need some sort of input. This will all make sense when I show you examples, right? So rather than simply responding to a prompt, an agent can follow the process. So for example, instead of asking generic AI to write a follow-up email, you could create a lead follow-up agent. The agency would review your software data, draft personalized emails, etc. Right? And here are some of the things. Hang on, I'm going to go maximize this. I'm still sharing this. Here are some of the things you can get agents to do. You can get them to research. You can get them to create content. You could get them to repurpose content into English and Arabic posts. You could get them to report on things, and you could customize it to get the reports however you want them, okay? You could do a follow-up agent. You could have an optimization agent, right? Now, you may be thinking, well, what does this actually mean? Well, I have agents. These are examples from my own workflow. Now, one of the things I do is help entrepreneurs, right? I help startups. And so what I thought was maybe I could train an agent to do what I do better than I do it, right? If that makes sense. So I built a startup launch agent. In other words, if you want to launch a business, you say to this agent, I want to start a business, a local business. It's a restaurant, it sells Italian food, and it's local to where I live. And customers I'm looking would be tourists who come to the town I live in. Gets quite a lot of tourists, blah, 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 right? But remember, I'd probably get AI to write that prompt anyway. Yes. And then I'd put that prompt into my agent, and my agent would create a business plan, a detailed business plan to launch that business, right? And that's because I've trained it to do that thing, right? Now, the more I use it, the better it gets, by the way, because the more I use it, the more I iterate. So when I put it in, and it is so easy to create an agent, right? In most tools, if you know how to take the workload away from yourself and put it in AI. This one here, LinkedIn Authority Agent. These are. I don't like the icons very much, but I started playing around with it. It kept giving me these rubbish icons, so I just sort of thought, well, I'll leave that. It doesn't really matter. My LinkedIn Authority Agent, create evidence-backed LinkedIn Authority posts and carousel slide content. These are agents. These are real agents I really use. And then I've got AI training proposal builder, right? This is another agent. And these agents I build, but they're not really automated in the sense that they work together yet. All right. So in other words, I could integrate or link my LinkedIn Authority agent to my startup launch agent. So when you start a business, more often than not, you're going to have to market it. Well, of course, you're going to always have to market it. What am I talking about? And you're going to be using social media. And if it was a professional a business like, say, I don't know, a lawyer or something like that, I'd want you using the LinkedIn Authority agent as well. So what you do, and this is where automation gets super smooth, cool, is you get the agents talking to each other. Okay, you connect the agents. So the startup agent would access the LinkedIn Authority agent, and that's how I would set it all up. And it's SEO agent and so on. Do you see what I'm saying? So you create these agents, and then you get them working together, and that's where you get the automation, right? Because automation is about achieving more complex step-driven tasks without human intervention other than checking the work. Does that make sense? Hope that will make sense, right? So that's that. So anyway, there's a thing I want to get to before we finish. Common mistakes. AI without clear goals, content without strategy, tools without integration, ignoring data. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm actually going to jump here to a little task I would like you to do, all right? And in order to do it, I need to copy paste this into the chat. So let's just stop sharing. Go to chat. Now, what I'd like you to do in your own Control V. Here it is. This is a prompt. This is a prompt that I'd like you to put into your own tool. Okay. So now you're going to have to edit some of it. You're going to copy paste it. I've just put it into chat. Copy paste it, and pop it into your own AI tool as a digital marketing strategy. Act as a digital marketing strategist. So you're giving it a role. I want to improve an element of the marketing for a business, whatever your business is. The target audience is whatever it is. So you just replace the audience, the objective, and pop that in to the tool of your own choice. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that because I want to make this real, basically, and see how you get on. See what you get back with. So, see what it comes back with you with. Okay. And it's got to basically give you practical recommendations, explain your reasoning, explain its reasoning, and suggest 3 immediate actions you can take this week. Because I wanted you to go away from this session with some real actions that you can use. Now, if you've been using an AI tool for 3 years, this is absolute child's play. If you've been using it for a month, I hope you find it interesting. Thank you very much, Mohammed. That's great. So the takeaway from this is don't accept the first answer you get. You could say improve it again. As I sort of indicated, it's all about having a conversation with a robot. Yeah, learning how to get the absolute maximum out of it. Now I'm going to just finish off now. I had to copy paste those. I had to jump ahead because I wanted to get that done. Just go here and maximize this. Before I said to you, I'm just going to wind up the agentic thing. I'd love to have spoken to you more about agentic. I'd love to have spoken to you more about prompt engineering or context engineering or anything else. Agentic AI is not quite the same as automation because you can have solo agents, if that makes sense. And yes, they are automating things within their own activities, I guess you could say. But where it gets fun is where you get agents working with each other. And the question was asked was what happens after automation? Well, what happens after automation is orchestration, right? You are going to be finding yourselves managing an orchestra. Good example, I've built about 12 agents and I'm beginning to get muddled up between one from the other, right? So weirdly, I've had to start to name them all, right? I noticed someone was doing that in Substack and I thought, what a good idea. So now I'm giving them all names, right? But I'm giving them names with the same letter as what they do. So Sam looks after SEO. Do you get it? Alan looks after advertising, and so on and so forth. I'm having to distinguish them between what they do, because one of the things you get to is orchestration. Once the agents start working together, you can make an agent in, if you know what you're doing, you can make an agent in 5 minutes. That's like a long time, right? So having 12 is no big deal. I expect I'll have 30 or 40 quite soon, all doing different stuff, both in personal life. It does get a bit more complicated, but that's because I find it a load of fun, right? People pay me to do this stuff, really? Okay. So orchestration is where you design a system where humans, AI bots, agents, data, and workflows all work together. So theoretically, there would be nothing stopping me creating an entire business with 20 agents and no employees, right? That's what's going to happen next. And the other thing I think will happen in certain industries, some of those agents will move around. So in other words, once they've got robots properly sorted out, at the moment they're still a bit clunky and they fall over and all that type of thing. But you'll find restaurants where a manned or woman entirely by robots, because ultimately they are only going to be intelligent agents. And you'll find offices. I predict, here's a prediction, I'll put a prediction on this. I predict within 3 years, some offices will be filled with robots, either working alongside humans or actually, replacing them in what they do. Because the thing here is that there are a lot of jobs that you can ask AI to do that are boring and repetitive and so on and so forth. And actually, there's a lot of jobs that aren't. Human creativity, human decision making, human aspects are still going to be required. What good looks like: clear objectives, aligned channels, consistent messaging, regular optimization, and AI enhancement. If you are going further in this AI thing, if you're at the beginning, I would start off by learning prompt engineering, right? I would then go on to context engineering and training. I would then move into some of the apps, play around with some of the apps that relate to you. So it could be Gamma for presentations, it could be Higgsfield or Canva for creativity. It could be 11 Labs if you're into audio. So build out your skills in things that appertain to you personally and that you like doing. And then I'd have a go at creating agents. I just love to have the time just to take you through that. I'd only probably need 20 minutes, but it's all, I'm already overrunning. Come to the course or not. If you need some help, I'm more than happy to help you, 5-10 minutes, whatever. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm all over the web. If you have any questions, that sort of thing. But what I'd really like to do is see you on the course, because then we can see now I sound like I'm pitching. I'm not, because I'm just so passionate about this stuff. And as I hope will take away from this is the value in all of this. So I'm just going to sum up now. A few takeaways. One, the human AI collaboration works best. Know the domain where you use AI. In other words, learn about the subject. So if you want to talk to it about ancient history, learn a bit about ancient history so you can ask the right questions. If you want to learn about how to use AI in marketing, build up your marketing skills. Identify the opportunities. This is a key one. Just settle down, cup of coffee, bit of free time. Just spend an hour or two identifying where you think AI would help you the most. Start with the priorities. So put the most important thing first, right? And then the second most, the third most, and talk to AI about how it can help you, right? It'll want to sort of put forward the best, but sometimes it gets a bit schmoozy. If it does, stop it. Say, stop being so schmoozy, right? I don't want to be told how wonderful I am all the time, because that's what AI does. Learn the skills needed. This is in order to work with AI to develop what you want out of it. Use the right tools. That could mean 4 or 5 tools max, really, or even 2 or 3 tools, or it might mean 10. Or if you're a multinational corporate, it might mean 200. But I really think that we're going to end up using a smallish number of tools. And then build and deploy agents and automate. So think about that. And if you want to know the answer to any of these questions, you have in front of you a thing that will tell you the answers in depth that you can talk to. Walking, sitting around in a queue if you want to. It will tell you the answers. I would suggest turning the audio off if you're in a queue. And then finally, create robust processes and frameworks, and get AI to help you create the frameworks, right? It's often used as called an assistant. It is not the boss in this relationship. You will always be the boss, or you should be, but it should assist you. It's good to get it to assist you, and think of that as a relationship, as assisting you. And yes, all the talk and all the hype and all the nonsense that's being said, I promise you, it will settle down, and basically AI will just become a part of life, like the web is, like social media is, like cars are, like TV is, like advertising is. It'll just settle down. All right. So that's it. This nice little end of the thing. We've run over. My sincere apologies. As I said, if you want to carry on this conversation outside this, that's fine. If you want to book anything or book me or anything like that, then go through Mark. Because we've got courses running throughout the year, every year. So if you want to go on one of those courses and really get into this stuff big time, then have a word with Mark, and it'll be lovely to see you there. But the future advantage belongs to marketers who combine AI speed with human strategy, evaluation, and judgment. To your point, Val, that you mentioned at the very beginning of this, it's a collaboration. It's a collaboration between this thing called AI and us, with all our positives as human beings. All right. Thank you very much for attending. I'm just going to do one last check for comments and questions. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Thank you, Naval. I certainly will. I will, yes. Have a word with Mark, sort of knows our schedule. Thank you, Samir. That's wonderful. You put a little graphic in. Mohammed, thank you. Okay. I'm here in Britain. The sun's not bad. I'm got, it's Sunday afternoon. You are in various places, Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, Jeddah, etc. Wherever you are, have a fantastic rest of the day. It's been an honor and a pleasure to talk to you about something that's so important to us all and that I'm so passionate about, but more importantly, that's valuable to you. Okay. Take your learning further, but do it at your own pace, and absolutely don't be overwhelmed what other people are doing or saying or telling you. Go at your own speed and enjoy the ride. Okay. Thank you very much indeed. And
thank you very much as well, Jeremy, for this wonderful talk and wonderful conversation. This was very interactive and very informative. Everyone, we're looking forward to we host webinars like this from time to time, not only specifically for marketing, but also for some of the other programs that we do run. We're leading digital marketing programs and courses, informative training sessions, which last for 5 days, specifically where Jeremy is our trainer. And if anyone is looking to learn something more, get a certificate along the way, certificate which is of course globally recognized, feel free to reach out to me. I will be glad to help you.
Thank you, Mark, for all your support as well. Absolutely brilliant as ever.
Most welcome, Jeremy. Thank you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining. Have a great day ahead.
Indeed. Thank you, Al Mustafa and Samir. Mohammed, Naval.
I think I can end it for now. Thank you all. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Take care, Mark. Have a great
Take
week.
care. Likewise. Bye-bye.